Oakland, California, and we're so excited to have Doug Baldwin here with us. Doug Baldwin is at the Piscataway Public Library. Nope, totally messed that up. Sorry, Doug, you're gonna have to help me. You're out in New Jersey.
And it's okay. It's okay.
Piscataway. Piscataway, yes. They don't allow me to leave California, so that's why I said that incorrectly. But I can't wait for you to tell us more about Piscataway Public Library in New Jersey. He's gonna talk to us about his makerspace in that public library. So Doug, I'm going to turn it over to you. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, great. Again, my name is Doug Baldwin. I'm the Emerging Technologies Librarian at the Piscataway Public Library. I've been in that position since April of 2013, so it's going on 4 years now. And I sort of walked into a makerspace that literally had its grand opening about a month before I got there. So I was sort of taking over a blank slate, if you will. They had this great launch, and then we needed to sort of move the space forward and sort of figure out what it was going to be, what it was going to represent, what types of programming we were going to do, how we were going to open it to the public, all those sort of things. So that's sort of where my role has. And I feel like we have accomplished quite a bit since then, which I can certainly talk about a bit. As far as the makerspace itself, it is open to the public several hours a week, mostly through volunteers. Excuse me. Like most of us in libraries, we're very sort of strained on staff, so we do the best that we can to try to provide access where we can. I really do have a great group of volunteers. Two high school students and one electrical engineer who's local to our area, and they really have been fantastic in a lot of different ways. So we have sort of that side of things with our makerspace, and then of course we have sort of the programming that comes out of there, and that is very collaborative for us. So we partner with our children's department to serve K to 5, do our teen departments grades 6 to 12, and then I'm myself in the adult services department. It's been a lot of fun. I'm sort of a new maker, if you will. I sort of walked into this position sort of as the accidental maker, I guess. It was a new position. I wasn't sure exactly what direction it was going to take, but it's been really, really a lot of fun so far.
Great. So could you talk about what making looks like in your library? If I walk in as a patron, what would I see happening?
Sure. So it takes place in a variety of different ways. So say, for instance, during our open hours when the space is open to the public, you may see parents coming in and tinkering with their kids with some of our electronics kits. You may see somebody prototyping on our 3D printer. We've had a fair amount of people just coming in with different designs that they want to sort of try out and see if it's sort of a viable product, those kinds of things, which is always interesting because you always sort of you get a lot of sort of secrecy when it comes to those things. They sort of ask you not to share their files, and they don't have their patents yet, things like that. So that's always sort of interesting. So you have sort of that element, which is sort of the sort of free and open use of the space, really all ages. Then we have monthly making programs for teens and for kids, and that really takes a variety of forms. One of the things that I've sort of found out and just sort of throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks is that pretty much everything will sort of stick. So we try to do a little bit of everything. So we do have sort of what we call build projects. So it's getting from point A to point B. We're going to make something 45 minutes. And you'll have something to take home with you. But then we also get into more of the tinkering and sort of engineering design process types of topics. So one program that we do is called YEL, Youth Explorers Library League, where we pair middle school and elementary school kids together into teams of 4, and they solve design challenges that we give them. And then what we do is sort of embed a story context into the design challenge, give them parameters, give them limitations, and then they're sort of free to tinker. And then we have them basically walk through a simplified version of the engineering design process. They draw, they brainstorm, they vote on an idea, they build it, they test it, and then they iterate from there. And then some of the other things we do, another one sort of pairs literacy with engineering, which is novel engineering, where we take a story context from a novel or a graphic novel. We're doing the Green Arrow actually tomorrow. which is kind of fun. We're basically we're gonna have them in teams where they have to basically construct and design a bow, because they're sort of on a desert island and they have to be able to hunt. And then we're gonna sort of see who's can shoot sort of the furthest, who's can stay together the longest, things like that. And that's we do that with some older kids. I'm actually doing my first sponsoring our first robotics team, our first competitive robotics team, which is a lot of fun. So we're doing, we have a team of 5 kids that's going to be doing that for the next 2 months. So those are just a couple of different examples. We do run a sort of a full service summer set of workshops, usually anywhere between 18 to 24 workshops over the summer that we do with a grant. That's all sort of either STEM, STEAM, or tinkering related. So those are just a couple quick examples of the types of making that we do.
Great, thank you so much for that. Since you're a librarian, and I think so oftentimes people don't necessarily think about making happening in a library, and at the same time, people might assume that making might be, something you do as an individual or not really social. But could you talk about then making as within libraries as a way to connect? How are you as a librarian connecting people? How are you as a library space actually creating those connections?
So that's a great question, because for most, especially for public libraries, but even for school libraries and other library types, we tend to sort of be these embedded institutions within the communities. So a lot of libraries like to call themselves sort of the living room of the community, things of that nature. So we've sort of tried to embrace that role when it comes to making and to STEM and things like that. So a couple things that we've sort of worked on is definitely trying to reach out to our schools to see where we can partner with them to sort of, create different types of ecosystems. So if they're doing sort of more formal education in the schools, how can we sort of continue that educational role in the informal setting outside of the classroom? So, one example of that is we have a STEM club that runs out of one of our elementary schools, and they asked me to come in and bring the 3D printer because they didn't have access to one. They were doing Tinkercad and some other CAD modeling, and they wanted to be able to show the kids how they could actually produce their models. So that actually worked out, really well. We sort of partnered with the school to be able to bring our resources there, and then we're going to be going back a couple times actually this year to do some other stuff with that club as well. So that's just sort of one example at the local level. At the statewide level, one of the really fun and sort of crazy projects that I've been involved in is New Jersey Makers Day, which I originally pitched 3 years ago now to our statewide library cooperative as a project to sort of bring different organizations together on the same day, and now it's 2 days, to sort of celebrate, showcase, and take part in different making activities across our state. And that's really been a fantastic exercise for me, and I know for our planning team as well, because what it's really done is brought different types of institutions out of their sort of silos and sort of bringing them together. So we have schools, we have colleges and universities, after school programs, museums, all sort of coming together and sort of meeting and talking about what each other is doing, partnering with each other in the same community. So say, for instance, in our Ocean County, which is sort of central New Jersey, the entire school system in one town, which is 18 schools, will be doing something on Friday, and then the library will be coming and assisting them with that. And then it will sort of turn around on Saturday, and the school will be assisting the library with doing their making activities on that Saturday. So we have a lot of great sort of collaborative partnerships that are coming out of that. And we've really been able to bring a lot of small businesses and a lot of other sort of maker supporting institutions in to either sponsor or partner with us to help sort of develop professional development and to actually bring discounts and products to those sites that are participating. So it's really been a wonderful project, and sort of libraries have been sort of that central sort of glue that's been sort of sticking that all together.
Fabulous. That sounds amazing. So it's not only kind of making in isolation in the library, but it's making within the community, making with other organizations, and really connecting people and connecting through making. Thanks so much for that example.
Exactly.
Wonderful. What advice would you give other librarians and educators? What would be kind of your core advice, thinking about both the potential of making within libraries, but also those challenges as well?
Sure. So one thing I would advise for really any library or librarian that's getting involved in this is don't be put off by sort of the high tech aspect of it. I have heard a lot of stories where there has been initial interest, or interest has come, say, from either top down or bottom up, depending on where you're coming from. And the first thing is, I know nothing about a 3D printer. I can't do Arduino. Raspberry Pi is something I'm not going to be able to pick up. And I think for a lot of us, especially in libraries, and a lot of what I've been doing is trying to move them sort of away from that, in the sense that I don't want to discourage people from learning those things if they're interested. I've done a lot of self-teaching myself and sort of learned a lot of things as I've gone along. But I think what we want to create is sort of viable and comfortable access points to get started with. So what I like to do a lot is sort of talk about making as a process, then sort of the tools of making them itself. So if we can talk about how to, how to iterate, how to teach failure as a positive aspect of making, how to teach sort of collaborative tinkering, things like that. You can do that with pretty much anything. I can give you a couple of craft sticks and some duct tape, and you can do making with that. And, if that's the place you want to start, then that's great. And you can sort of move through your comfort level that way. The other thing is, this is not sort of a cookie cutter mold that we're all in. And I think that's really the power of the maker movement, is that it's not all the same. It's so diverse and it's so different, and it should speak to our passions. And I think that's sort of the other advice that I would give is, be passionate about it. Find your passion within the maker movement and go with that first, because you'll find that you're going to be a much better facilitator, and then whoever you're sort of working with is going to gravitate to you much more, and you can certainly build off of that sort of as a process.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that advice. Amazing. So could you talk about resources? Educators love resources. Give us your top 3 resources that you use as a librarian in the Maker so we can share that widely.
Okay, sure. So the first thing that I would share, and if there's a way to get links out, we can certainly do that, is the New York Hall of Science developed the Maker Blueprint. They do fantastic work. They're located in Queens. It's where the World Maker Fair is. But the Maker Blueprint is sort of this beautiful document to me, because it really encompasses all the different things and elements that you might consider in sort of getting started, from what kinds of stuff might I need in a space if I'm going to have a space, what can tinkering look like, what are some of the challenges, how to overcome those challenges. There's example projects, and it's not long. It's not one of these 200-page things where you sort of have to jump around. I think it's only about somewhere between 11 and 14 pages, but it really just does a really nice job of encapsulating all the things that I think are sort of key as far as getting started in the maker movement. Definitely from an informal education standpoint, but certainly can be applied in formal as well. One of the websites that I really like to go to is Lifehacker. And I just get some really cool and interesting ideas from there. And I like it because it's really so varied and really so sort of all over the place when it comes to those types of things. So that's something that I personally get ideas from. And then if I can turn it around and make it a program or have it be something that I can apply in my library, then that's even better. And then as far as books, the best book that I've found so far is published by Make Media, called Tinkering by Kurt Gabrielson. I really like this book because it talks more about, again, that sort of tinkering as a process and sort of the pedagogy that goes behind that. I really feel like that is a strong foundation for being able to do and facilitate great things as far as programming and as far as events or anything that you might be doing is concerned. And it focuses less, again, sort of on the tools and more on that process aspect of it, which I really liked.
Awesome. Thanks so much for those resources, Doug. We want to thank you for helping us launch our Ask a Maker Educator series and being the guinea pig. We so appreciate it. And we appreciate you sharing your knowledge and expertise from Piscataway Public Library. So we will make sure we continue to follow you online. Any last final words you want to share with educators out there in the world?
Only that I will have, they will be passing along my my contact information. Use me as a sounding board. Let's connect. I'm more than happy to do that. part of even President Obama's sort of Nation of Makers movement is to try to get us connected at a national level, sort of local, statewide, national. So my message to everybody is really just let's all get connected. Let's all do this together, and let's all sort of go through this together, because I think it would be fantastic, the things that we can do and the impacts that we can have if we do it.
Well said. Thanks so much, Doug. Have a great one, and tune in next time, everybody out there, and for our next Ask a Maker Educator series. We appreciate it. Have a wonderful week. Bye.
Great, thank you. Great, thank you.